Drink beer, it's good for you.
Hello and welcome to the video. In this video I'll be reviewing the new European version of the RoboBrew Brewzilla 65L system. I have now completed over 10 brews with this system and feel confident in releasing this final review now. But before we go into that, here is a quick disclaimer. Through my work in the homebrew industry in Scandinavia, I obtained the EU version of this system early. This was not obtained for the purpose of this review but for evaluation. This review nor anything found on my channel is sponsored or paid. This review avoids much opinion until the very end, and up to that point really just focuses on facts. When giving opinion, this opinion is solely my own. At the end of the day you need to make your own choices and decisions, of course, but it is my aim to give you all relevant information so that you can make an informed choice. So here it is. Say hello to the new 65L Brewzilla EU model. This is already available in the US and Australia, and it's been very popular in those countries, and soon it is our turn in Europe. I say soon because at this point there is nothing concrete, but summer 2019 is looking very likely, so not long to wait really. From the outside this may look like a larger version of the 35L system, and for some part it is, but there are also some key changes. Firstly, this unit is much more flexible. You can brew between approximately 20 to 55 litres, or perhaps more, as this is a 65L system, meaning it is suitable for single and double batches. This is coupled by the fact that the grain basket can hold up to 19 kilos of malt, though a maximum grain bill of between 15 to 16 kilos is suggested to avoid plummeting efficiency. This obviously allows for a lot of scope. The build quality of the main unit is on par with what you would expect. As I said in my comparison of the 35L system with the Grainfather, there really is little difference in the main unit build quality. The malt basket, top plate and false bottom are much thicker compared to those on the 35L system, also to allow for the extra weight of course. Let's take a look at some of the components of the system, starting with this top lid. This certainly has a nice weight and quality to it, and you get those all important handles on the top. Naturally this is the lid that comes by standard for the system, but there is also an alternative lid that you can buy that allows you to use the system for distilling. If you're unsure as to the legal status of this in your country, then certainly do a check before you get started. Here is the bottom plate and pipework. As I understand it, the final version will have that extra mesh screen that is found on the 35L model. As you can see here, this pipework is fully adjustable. This is the grain basket and the lifting handle. This handle is ready to accept lifting gear should you need it with higher grain bills. I've been a regular gym goer for most of my life, but when you fill this system up to higher capacity levels, due to the added liquid weight, lifting up that grain basket solo requires quite a grunt. Even if you can manage it, then it is probably more sensible to use a winch or have a second person help out, so do factor this in. Here is the top plate that sits on top of your grain to allow even distribution of wort through the grain bed during mashing and during sparging. This is certainly much thicker than the top plate on the 35L RoboBrew system and certainly looks and feels to be of nice quality. And here is the overflow pipe that goes on top during mashing. Here is the stopper that is added to the centre pipework when you sparge and perhaps when you add your grain. It is quite small and as such could be easily mislaid. Having said that, you could just use a bottle top or similar in replacement. This pipework does allow other stoppers from other systems to fit though, and at one time RoboBrew systems had something quite similar. This system has three heating elements, a 500, a 1 kilowatt and a sweet 2 kilowatt element. Naturally you will need to be running 240 volts to actually make 100% use of them, but on my Norwegian 230 volt power supply this really did equate to something very fast, which for the price was a welcome surprise for sure. If you have seen my video comparison of the 35L RoboBrew Brewzilla versus the Grainfather, then you will know that the 35L system was super fast compared at heating due to the insulation in its base, and this 65L system has the same but much more power to boot. Another very nice feature added is that the heating elements are ultra low watt density, so this avoids any burning or scorching on the bottom. This also means that large amounts of very lightly coloured beers are not going to be a problem. Other manufacturers should certainly take note of this, as if this can be available at this price point, then it should certainly be available at higher price points. To accommodate all of this extra heating, there is increased venting on the base, through the side and the bottom. The bottom is also raised by rubber feet. It should also be mentioned that when you have the grain basket in place, it is suggested by the manufacturer that you just use the 500 watt and 1 kilowatt elements, and not the 2K element, but outside of this you can use all three for full power. Another thing to mention power-wise is that you should check with an electrician for your area as to what you would need to avoid tripping out your circuit, as 3.5 kilowatts is naturally more power than many other brewing systems. Personally, I have my house hot water tank in my brewing area, or what my wife calls our bathroom, and I simply plug into this dedicated circuit that has 16 amps running 230 volts. Naturally, it takes some hours for the hot water to come back, but cold showers after brewing can be very beneficial, and after upsetting my wife that she cannot have a shower before bed, sometimes I take another cold shower then also. Thanks to all this extra power, when you brew smaller 21 to 30 litre batches, this system simply feels super speedy heating wise compared to other smaller systems like the Grainfather and 35 litre RoboBrew. So I guess some will find this attractive for reducing brew times down, along with the flexibility of being able to brew larger batches also. Now onto the false bottom that is your filter on this system between your wort and your pump. As you can see, it has a massive surface area and offers great protection against even the most hoppy of beer styles, and as much as I've tried, nothing I've tested could slow down the pump at all. Another great thing is that this false bottom makes for a really easy cleanup. Simply remove it after your brew, wash off the debris, and the vast majority of the solids are gone already. The controller on this system is the same as found on the Brewzilla Generation 3.1 35 litre system. It does not have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, but it is easy to use and allows you to set preheating timers and automatic step mashes, which for many people will be exactly all they need. When timing step mashes, you also need to include the time that the system takes to ramp up to the temperature also. The first time you use the system in your environment, this information will not be known, of course, but after the first time you will know roughly how long it takes between different temperatures, which in the case of this system is actually never long due to its powerful heating. One of the key areas that separates brewing systems is how accurate they are when it comes to temperature, particularly within the mash temperature range. This is where the majority of the budget market totally fails, meaning that they will give unpredictable results. These results in some cases can be responsible for totally changing the body and resulting end beer. Can you imagine an intended light lager style with the body of a stout, or vice versa? This is what you're up against. The vast majority of systems out there also don't allow for temperature calibration either. The RoboBrew Brewzilla 3.1 systems offer calibration and also have a very good accuracy anyway. The calibration is simple and operated by the controller, as you can see on screen now. I did not find that this was needed actually, but it is certainly nice to fall back on if it ever is. I've been testing and showing the results of this and various other systems over time, and so far there are several systems that I've found give a high level of temperature accuracy. These are the Spidel Braumeister, the Grainfather, the Brew Tools and the RoboBrew Brewzilla 3.1 35 litre system. I am very pleased to say that this 65 litre version is no different, and that the figures I put in my RoboBrew vs Grainfather video not so long ago are also incredibly similar to what I have experienced with this 65 litre unit. It would seem that they are using either the same quality of temperature probe or exactly the same probe in this 65 litre system that the 35 litre unit enjoys. Supplied in the box is this immersion cooling spiral, which does the job that you would expect, particularly if you have used one of these before. It is large enough to cool down the different volume sizes that are possible with this system also. What I much prefer though is the optional counterflow chiller that is also offered by the manufacturer for a very competitive price. This certainly gives the cooling a nice kick in speed and certainly feels easier to prepare and clean. This is very similar in performance when compared to my counterflow chiller from the Grainfather, though it has to be said that this is not as refined in the looks department. It certainly does the job though, and that is what counts here really. So here are my final thoughts. There was a time in homebrew equipment not so long ago when budget prices meant pizza box quality and poorly thought out systems. Certainly when I bought my Grainfather some years ago now, the budget systems that emerged close to that time just made me feel more comfortable about my decision in buying a Grainfather. Many of those budget systems that I tested at that time were so poor that I would not trust them to heat sparge water correctly, let alone mash malt with confidence. Equally, the earlier RoboBrew model system that I tested a couple of years ago or so ago never made it to my channel because there were just too many things wrong with it at that point, and I really would rather just focus on what is positive in the world of beer brewing on my channel. It really is a waste of my time and my viewers' time for me to review something that I do not recommend to anyone but my worst enemies. I have been sent all sorts of brewing systems by other companies also that I have simply declined to review on the same basis. Certainly when I encountered these RoboBrew Brewzilla systems after version 3, I have to say that I was rather shocked as to how good they have become all round full stop, not even considering the price. What we have here with this 65 litre system is something that has very high flexibility in that you can brew single and double batches. It feels very fast the whole way also, with a large amount of heating power at your disposal. And the other nice thing is that this comes with the reassurance of the low watt density heating elements, in that you are not burning the bottom plate for a nasty cleanup later, or suffering a darker wort because the heating is caramelizing your wort. If you are someone who mostly brews 20 to 25 litre batches, but would like the option to brew more without spending a great deal more money, then frankly this is ideal. Your brewing sessions will be shorter with no compromise, and when you have others come to join you for the brew, there will be plenty of wort to go around. In addition to this, you also have that super large false bottom that will never make you think twice about adding lots of hops to your brew or use a hop spider, reducing the utilization of your hops. There are really only two areas that I can find fault in this system. Firstly, the stopper used when you add your grain and sparge to cover the middle pipe is quite small and thus easily lost. Having said this, this is a very easy part to replace, as I mentioned earlier. And yes, I would have preferred the controller to be mounted higher, but this is just my personal taste, and frankly I've managed just fine. Even the super premium Brew Tools has this issue, but this is of course easily cured by raising either unit up onto something like a short table. And frankly, for the price of this RoboBrew Brewzilla system, I really have no rights to grumble at such things, especially when this system is ticking quality, accuracy and power boxes way beyond its price point. If money is of no object, then certainly the Brew Tool system is better, but then considering the price gap, it certainly should be. Other than that, there is really nothing else I can recommend in this brewing size that ticks both boxes for value for money and build quality. This now brings this video to a close. If you have any questions, then please let me know via YouTube or Facebook. I do hope that you found this video to be useful, interesting and enjoyable. If appropriate, then please like this video on YouTube, and if you've not done so already, then please subscribe. I regularly post new content. Happy brewing!